Celtics Talk podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com. New England gets more at 24.
Yeah, I don't know, but we got to figure that out. I think a lot of our issues get solved just on the defensive glass. I got to get more involved. I got to get some more rebounds. A lot of long shots lead to long rebounds, so just timing. You know, some of the shots just keep bouncing over our head, or some of those guys were just pushing us underneath, but rebounding is definitely the biggest issue for us right now.
What's up, everybody?
How we doing, Chris?
You know, the Celtics are 0-3. That's not good. Celtics fall today to the Detroit Pistons, 119-113. Done in yet again by what was essentially one bad quarter. No, both middle quarters were not great.
The second and third were both, yeah.
Both pretty rough, including a 8-hour delay to fix the net. It was almost my headline. Like, what is there any way in the NBA can fix a net quicker? Because we had Drew and Scale had to vamp for 20 minutes.
Well, not only that, but then you also had it's only been an hour, but the last 3 seconds of the game where they had to go to the monitor in a 6-point game to figure out what to do there. So
as if it wasn't frustrating enough to watch the Boston Celtics struggle, to rebound the basketball, to consistently score the basketball. There was a lot of good things in this game. I will not. I do not want to harp on the negative, although I will shortly. So I'm going to open the floor to you before I rant.
Okay.
What's your headline from tonight's game?
I'd say that my headline from tonight's game is that second chance points just were backbreakers for the Celtics.
Normally I'd say you can't take my headline, but because it's such an egregious issue tonight.
I didn't know I was supposed to come up with a concrete headline. That's my bad.
Yeah, that's okay. Everyone's new to the pod. It's a new season. We're all, as JB said in the postgame tonight, we're all kind of figuring this out. It's not going to be perfect on day one. Clearly, because I've now had 3 pods, and 3 times the co-hosts have been like, what are we doing?
Okay. Well, so
I was hoping you would go with Jaylen Brown, try to bring a little positivity.
No, I mean, we just watched
Giles.
that game. You know, I understand that, you know, they're going to go through growing pains and they're figuring things out. And I understand that Jaylen Brown had 41 points. But if you watch that game, it all came down to in the fourth quarter when they're making a run and they get a stop and Detroit gets a second or third opportunity and cashes in every single time. That, to me, was the game. Just that stretch right there in the final 5 minutes.
Being a good teammate, I'm going to give you my headline.
Okay.
Because it was much better than your off the cuff one. The Celtics rebounding is offensive.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So let me give you the numbers. So while we deep dive this here. So the Detroit Pistons rebounded 46.4% of their misses tonight. They turned 18 offensive rebounds into 30 second chance points. Now think about this: that 46.4% of their misses getting collected, that ranked in the 100th percentile this season. Now we're only 3 games in, not a lot of data there, but let's put it this way: last year, the Celtics ranked 7th in the NBA, allowing opponents to grab just 26.8% of their misses. So almost double. Not quite double, but 175% of what we saw last year this season. That number was at 37.3% through the first 2 games of this year, and it ranked 29th in the NBA. So somehow it went from really, really bad. And if the Sacramento Kings weren't just also god-awful at securing rebounds, it would be egregiously bad. NBA average last year was 28.1. My long-winded, nerdy way of saying, holy cow,
yeah,
it's been bad. And I think what's most jarring about it is that they've played good defense in stretches. They create missed shots. I think their effective field goal percentage has been better than the opponent in each of these first 3 games, or maybe for 2 of the 3. And yet they haven't been able to win those games because they can't secure a rebound.
They can't secure a rebound. So, and that's the defensive side of it. Real quick, when you're talking about their effective field goal percentage, I thought that tonight they got some of the best looks that they've gotten. They just
now you want to be positive.
They missed a bunch of open looks.
Okay, now we're back.
I'm just saying. I thought they did create at least good opportunities where they had to force up some bad shots in the previous 2 games. The rebounding. My bigger question, because I know that everyone wants to bring up the fact that Al Horford's not here, Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Cornett. I think the most valuable rebounder that you're missing is the one guy that's still on the team, obviously not playing, is Jason Tatum.
Maybe the best rebounder at his position.
I think that's unquestionable. Like, he's a phenomenal rebounder, and maybe...
But to your point, Kristaps Porzingis is not walking through that door.
No, none of
Luke
those guys.
Cornett is not walking through that door.
So how do they fix it?
Al Horford's not walking through that door.
How do they fix it?
They could probably... Well, Giles, I'm glad you asked. I have no clue. No, honestly, like, I think what's most conflicting to me is, so the Celtics come into the year, and everyone asked me that same question, like, well, is the front court going to be a problem? And for going on 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 10 years now, I've always like, they always seem to figure it out. Even last year, people were like, wait, Luke Cornett's going to be essentially your backup center. I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, Kristaps Porzingis is obviously not going to play every night, and Al Horford's going to be brought along and won't play the second night of back-to-backs. But Luke is way better than you think. And Nemi is as good of a third option as you can have at times. And they're just going to figure it out. And so when you lose all those guys this offseason, I said, with departures comes opportunity. And I thought Nemi Keita would elevate to that role and be good. And he has been. Like, he's not the most egregious of it. He's doing what he can out there. You look at a game like tonight, it was Asar Thompson swooping in from every angle, like Cade. Like, they've got a lot of springy, big dudes who are going to cause problems on a night-to-night basis. The problem is, we've now got 3 games worth of sample here where it's not just the springy guys getting up and stealing rebounds. It's the Celtics with a little bit, sometimes they're just getting caught being a little too aggressive on like trying to block shots. Now you're out of position, or like you get cracked off the dribble and now you're scrambling. They just haven't been fundamentally sound. And then you add into that, they haven't boxed out. So step 1 in this multiple step process would be, let's try boxing out. Yeah. Let's get crazy.
Body on a body.
Let's put a body on a body. Let's just see what happens.
Do you think part of the reason that they're out of position, you brought up the block shots and everything else, is they are trying to force more turnovers? 100%. Right? I think they realize that they're not going to win the rebounding battle. Yep. They can win the turnover battle, which they did again tonight. They had 12 turnovers. They forced 16. They had 11 steals in this game. So you're seeing an emphasis on that, which is, I think, part of the reason you saw Hugo Gonzalez in the starting lineup. Can you play like that and afford to give up a couple more offensive rebounds as a result?
I think you can afford to live with a few extra offensive rebounds that you can't allow 18. You can't. Your defense is not at the level it was at last season. You can't live with giving, it's always the same sequence to it where a guy is just like missing a bunny, grabs it, misses a bunny, grabs it, and then finally finishes it off. And you're like, oh, or even worse was the kickouts and Duncan Robinson makes a 3 or whatever. It's like, those are backbreakers. You just can't have those. So I think you start with personnel. I mean, you start with telling the guys in-house right now, like, hey, you're trying out everybody you got on your bench. Back to the 5 guys who will rebound, 5 guys that'll rebound, 5 guys that'll rebound. See, and if 5 guys that'll box out, 5 guys that'll box out, and let's see what happens there. If that isn't good enough, and I hate to jump too far ahead, and I will have to relent to the crowd that said, do they have enough personnel up front? Because if you just don't have, if your bigs are not constructed in a way that they cannot consistently rebound, like Garza, we'll see. He just hasn't played a lot in his NBA career, but he's not a good defensive rebounder. He's actually a fairly good offensive rebounder, but he, like when we were watching the highlights after the game, a lot of I thought a lot of the offensive rebounds came when he would be chasing a block and all of a sudden someone swooping in behind him. And so he's got to be more stout. Like from top to bottom. I'm not trying to like single anybody out. Boucher, he's like an okay rebounder, but he's still not one of the best defensive.
He only
rebounders.
played 9 minutes tonight.
So I'm not even going to throw it under him. I'm just thinking, I'm just running through my head the big man. Like, Nemi is going to get 6 to 8 rebounds on a given night, maybe more, depending on, how much he plays. But everybody else has to be in that 5 to 7 range. And Pritchard was the leading rebounder tonight, right?
He had 10. By far.
Crazy.
He had 10.
I joked on this podcast,
Brown
94 times in the preseason that Peyton Pritchard was, and I didn't know if I even believed it. He's the one who's he's very good at crashing the glass and knows how to get there. Now, how many of them were offensive?
Just 3.
Just 3.
7
okay,
defensive, 3 offensive.
No one even got close to 7 defensive rebounds.
No one else even had 7
that's crazy
rebounds.
that Jaylen had 4, and then Nemi only with 3, and again, I know he only played.
And you're talking defensive rebounds right now.
Rebounds, correct. Over 26-28. They just got to be better. And again, Detroit's good. They put you in a lot of tough spots with their athleticism, with their verticality. But man,
Well, how many teams, though, also are going to see what's happening right here in these first 3 games? How many teams are going to look at it and say, I would say that it's probably somewhat obvious going into it that teams are going to have a clear size advantage, and there should already be an advantage. But how many teams are going to say, you know what, we need to exploit this. We need to exploit the rebound situation, and are going to have guys crashing 5.
We'll finish up in a few minutes talking about New Orleans. Like, you start thinking about Zion and all the size that they've got. Like, you look at the Cleveland on Wednesday, Philly coming back. Like, it's a tough stretch to open here, at least in terms of going up against teams that can rebound the basketball pretty well. And you just got to kind of figure it out. There's no breaks. Having a vehicle you can rely on, that's important. That's why you can rely on 24 Auto Group. They will treat you like family. And that's because they are family owned and operated. They're honest, easy to work with, and they just get it. Whether you're looking for something sporty, something luxurious, or just a solid everyday ride, 24 Auto Group always comes through. With 9 brands and 11 locations across New England, there's something for everyone. And here's the best part. They've got the knack to save you more on a new or pre-owned vehicle, and the knack to pay you more for your trade, up to $2,400 over book value. You can even drive home with just $24 down. So if you want the best deal without the runaround, go see my guys at 24 Auto Group, because you always get more at 24. Online at 24autogroup.com. So my headline was going to be about the rebounding and how offensive it's been. I'm going to zag.
Okay.
Bring a little positivity to this podcast.
Okay.
Jaylen Brown was really good.
He was.
That's my headline.
That's it?
Jaylen Brown is really good at basketball. Wow. From questionable on the injury report to 41 points, thought like you could tell within the first few minutes he had it going. What were your thoughts on Jaylen tonight?
Yeah, I mean, right from the jump, right? He had 10 points in the first quarter. He gave him a nice cushion, helped give them that cushion when they were up 29-12. And I thought, okay, that's a good start. And then he came back with 13 in the second quarter. So he had 23 at the half, and then followed that up with 18 more in the second half. So to me, it was his most complete offensive game in terms of wasn't just scoring in spurts, but gave you scoring consistently every single quarter. He also had 4 assists, so doing a pretty good job at distributing the ball. I know that you've looked at potential assists as a number that has maybe plagued this team as well, because
I'll be fascinated to see what it is tonight.
Because and again, I felt like they missed a lot of open shots, but yeah, for a guy that was questionable with a hamstring, it seemed like he took it upon himself. You heard him in the postgame even talking about kind of letting the game come to him, maybe letting it slow down a little bit.
Let's actually listen to a little bit of Jaylen Brown.
Just reading the flow, just being more who I am, just taking my time, playing basketball, what I've been doing my whole career, not overthinking it, trying to get other guys involved, but at the same time just playing basketball and let the natural flow of things take its course. I think I did that a little bit better today. I still see some spots where I can improve and things like that, so it's a journey, and we're going to figure it out together.
Seems like you don't want to overreact to early results, but you're not used to losing like this. This is the first 3-game losing streak in a while. What do you need to take from this to continue growing? What do you need to kind of address?
I think rebounding for one. Me, I'm just trying to make sure my body is ready to go each and every night. Starting the year off with a hamstring strain was not ideal. So, those first 2 weeks, which we're in, are high risk. So I just need to make sure that, I'm getting my recovery, taking my body, making sure. But other than that, just continue to find ways to make my teammates better and just being aggressive. That's what my response would be.
You mentioned it too. I thought he was very diplomatic in terms of, in a good leader way. It'd be easy for the guy who scores 41 points to be like, hey, I'm doing my thing.
Well, but what he was asked, and the response was, we need to rebound. I can rebound better. So that's clear. That's the message.
Good leadership. He could easily say, hey, Peyton and Derek were 5 for 19 from 3-point.
Yeah.
And they have not had a single game this year where either of those guys have been going together. And Peyton's struggling a little bit to shoot the basketball, even though he had a good night overall because he was actually super efficient inside of the arc. If I'm doing quick math, 6 of 8 inside the arc. So look, I hate that a lot of the good stuff. So we can go lightning round here, but Josh Minot, amazing tonight. Like comes in after getting a DNP the other night, which didn't make a whole lot of sense except if he plays a lot in these next 2 games, and was clearly a difference maker in that second half. And with the way that he had his own little 8-0 burst, knocking down threes, making plays, like it's clear they need energy guys on the floor. What were your impressions of Minot?
Minot was good. No, he was really good, and he kind of started things there in that fourth quarter. I mean, it was 98-85 when he went on that run. That was good, and I think that when you look at these though, Chris, and you talk about, all right, that was a nice run there by Josh Minot, and Hugo Gonzalez gave him good minutes on Friday, good energy. They need multiple guys every night to do that. It can't just be, that was the Josh Minot 10-minute surge, and that was the one guy. You need Josh Minot to have that surge. You need Luka Garza to give you or Sam Hauser and Anthony. What I'm saying is, you can't just have one guy doing that. You need 3 guys to have that kind of run if you're going to have such a discrepancy when it comes to rebounding.
I'm with you, and I think Eddie on our broadcast after the game was kind of hell bent on like they don't have a rotation, and I kind of again I want to give them some leeway where coming into this year it's not as easy. Like I think you could pick the starting 5, and we've already seen them sort of alter that just because Joe feels like you need energy out there to counterbalance some of the rebounding woes, and so Ugo gets the start tonight. And I thought he was really good. And, is that sustainable? It's asking a lot of a 19-year-old rookie to be, like, super impactful for long stretches. But what a luxury to be able to throw the 19-year-old kid out there and say, go guard Cade Cunningham or Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
And for him to be like, okay, I'm just going to go do it.
He had some nice moments.
Really,
he's going to get the rookie whistle for a while.
I don't know which referee it is. But he got hammered.
Going up for the dunk. Yeah.
Hammered. You have a rookie with a chance to get like his first highlight moment, gets absolutely clubbed. And like even he, like I don't think Ugo knew what to do in that moment. He was just so mad. Because like he's on the ground. He's like, you could hear the hit.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like his box score is not going to show, but he had a couple steals. He had a block shot in there, and that's on the box score, but he had some energetic plays.
I thought it was great. Again, for my expectation of what he can bring, I thought he really left an imprint on that first stretch there where they built a little bit of a lead.
Yep.
Was in there when we kind of kicked away too, but like, in that third quarter where they're just lobbing it up to Durant every time, like they just had no answer for that. And so they've just got to be better. Just got to be better overall. And back to the rotation thing, like what would you do? Like, do you stick with an energy guy in the starting lineup? Do you tweak? I've already been asked. People are already wondering if Payton needs to go back to the bench. And I think that's way too premature.
I think I would stick with the starting lineup that you had tonight. Mm-hmm. When everyone is available, I would go with that starting lineup. I would like to see that again because again, you got off to a good start. Maybe the rotations later on you have to figure out. Or Chris, so much of this too. And this was something that we talked about at halftime and maybe got lost because it all came down to rebounding. Closing out quarters.
Oh, yeah.
That was their issue at times last year when they had trouble closing out quarters, and Joe used to get on them about that, and he would bring that up. Because they have other issues, that kind of gets overlooked. But you had Detroit ending the first quarter on a 12-4 run. They ended the second quarter on a 17-4 run. So those big runs to end the quarters, like to think that Detroit had a 2-point lead at half, that I think is also killing them. And it's kind of curious, why is that happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I think because the rotations have been so wonky, I can't say it's like personnel based. It's just, they went with the 5-guy full sub the other night, and that actually worked, but then they brought Jaylen back, and the starters just weren't good in the sort of that sandwich period. I don't know. They just got it. It comes down to a little bit more consistency needed, not only in every aspect like rebounding, but just on the floor. Like they have these stretches where you're like, oh, okay, it looks really good. That's the team I expected, and then it's just woof when the wheels come off, or when they're not engaged defensively, or when they're allowing the offensive rebounds. Man, they just can't re-lock in right now. They need to figure that out.
So maybe my headline should have been Celtics can't close out.
I like it.
And then you could kind of work that with the rebounding and everything. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Come back.
Start over. Here we go.
We got another game in like literally 20 minutes. So looking ahead, what do you want to see when the Celtics travel to New Orleans on Monday night to close out this little 3-game road trip, it can be as simple as a win.
A win. Yeah, no. Yeah, seriously. Because you got Cleveland on Wednesday. This team could badly use a victory. And, the Pelicans are 0-2, but they played competitive basketball in their 2 losses. Zion Williamson's playing well. He's scored 27 each of their first 2 games. They're getting good contributions from their rookies and Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. That's not going to be an easy game by any stretch. And again, you're going to have to play that going from Detroit all the way to New Orleans. Not a short trip for the second night of a back-to-back against a team that you brought up hasn't played since Friday.
And I would be like just mainlining beignets once I got there, so I would be plodding up and down the course. So I hope they're better than me. Wait for the flight home for the beignets.
Yeah,
it's
a low bar. Hope they're not eating beignets like I would be doing.
I mean, again, maybe I'll just do that because I got to eat my feelings away because the Celtics are struggling. But I do think there's positives, and maybe when we're sitting in these chairs tomorrow night, we'll be a little bit more optimistic about where this team is going.
I'm gonna have my headline ready to roll. It's gonna be great. What a learning experience.
Start writing it now. Why wait for the game? Hopefully we'll just will it into.
Do you think Jaylen Brown plays?
I go back to it. I think in a vacuum you would say trade cautiously with a hamstring, especially for someone that was questionable, and he, even popping up on the injury report seemed to be setting it up for a night off. But as a leader of a team that's now 0-3, I think it's tough for him to say, "I'll just sit out."
He played 35 and a half minutes tonight. Derek White played 37.
The team might have to step in and be like, "Hey, this is what's best for the long term of the team," and stress that to everybody in that locker room. And regardless, I don't think it'll be a very fun night off if he takes it, because he's going to be sitting there thinking, "Man, I want to be out there with this team," and he's vital to their success. So I don't know how they play that. That's an interesting choice, and especially Derek was on the injury report. Garza obviously seems fine after the concussion. But yeah, that's a delicate balance. It would be a lot easier to downshift if they were 2-1. They're 0-3, but we'll be back here tomorrow night to break it all down, and Giles will have a headline. So go subscribe, go check us out on the YouTube page. We'll catch you tomorrow night on the Celtics Talk Podcast.